Hey everybody, okay, I've got my new friend Kim Doyal on my YouTube channel and to do an interview with me. I have known of Kim for a very long time, yet we just met last month at a great conference called the Recurring Revenue Retreat in Orlando. And we got to sit down for a short lunch, and I was like, this person is my kindred spirit, and I cannot believe we've known of each other for, I think, probably 10 plus years.
Yep.
And haven't had a conversation. And also your talk at Recurring Revenue Retreat really resonated with me. The center point theme, as I recall, is really about relationships. And I love that value that you have. So there's a couple things I wanted to bring her on and interview her today, is to talk about, she has got a very lively Facebook group that I became a part of after I met her last month. I have purchased her awesome product called Content Creators Planner. And there's just a couple other things that I wanted to, you're such an intriguing person, Kim, and I wanted to ask, because I love this, your spirit that you do life and business. And it really resonates with me and how I want to do business as well. So anyway, thank you for taking the time today, Kim, to be on, and let me just ping you with questions.
Thanks for having me, Cory. And it's funny, I thought the same thing. I'm like, how is it? I've totally known Cory Miller for like all these years, but I'm actually grateful that we got to meet in person. It was really awesome for our first meeting. And thanks for the awesome intro. Yeah. My ego is set for the day.
No, you have so many things that I know I can personally learn about, and I wanted to not just pick your brain and ask those questions, but share them with other people too. And there's this beyond relationships, which is a key value for you, building great relationships. I mean, you built a ton of good ones. You also, the center of your universe is content. And I'm an old newspaper journalist going way back, and so you're on the cutting edge of a lot of things. And so I want to just dive in and start asking you about them.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, so on your site, you said the best decision you made career-wise, career and business, I think was the context, starting a podcast. Can you tell me a little bit about can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I will share the story. So, you know what is funny, Cory, is that I did that 2013 is when I launched the WordPress Chick podcast. And I've always been like a total audiophile. I think that's the correct word. Like when I was working, I was a district manager in retail. I mean, I had a crate of cassette tapes in my car. Like I listened to the Nightingale Conant and, all that. I just was always putting something into my head. And so I loved listening to podcasts. I think Smart Passive Income was probably one of the first ones that I listened to. And it's an hour-long show. And I just thought, I just hit this point where I was like, I need to have more fun, because my journey here, the content piece that I'm doing now feels like I've come home to what I was supposed to do. And it took me 11 years to get here. I was in WordPress, loved it, met great people, but it was always sort of one of these things doesn't belong here because I'm not a developer. So the podcast, it was literally to have more fun. I had zero expectations. I had zero, intention other than have fun, talk to good people. I was like, I've got stuff I want to talk about. I actually wanted to be a motivational speaker at one time. So that tells you a lot, right? And, but it was just, there's something about doing things in your business with zero expectation, obviously. And I have intentions, right? I want things to go well. I want things to be enjoyable. But man, every single time I've done something because it was simply what my heart was calling me to do, it worked and made money. Every time I thought, I'm going to launch this because I have to make money, it crapped. You know what I mean? It was just like, it would fall flat on its face. And so it was one of those things. And 2013, there wasn't a lot of WordPress podcasts. And so it was very easy to reach out. And it's like, what other platform do you get where someone says, hey, I've got this audience and platform, let me share your message. It's a complete give, right? There's no expectation of it. And I actually just did a podcast episode and a post that said, so you want to be a podcast guest, because we've kind of swung the other way where there's all these pitching companies, right? And it's like, hey, this person would be great and stuff. And in my experience, it's not been hard to find guests. And when I ask someone to come on the show, I have zero expectations. When I get pitched, I expect you to promote it, right? And so I think that's also like getting closer to 50. And I'm like, either do it or don't, but you're not going to be on the show if you don't, right? So I don't know. So, but really and it sounds so esoteric, Cory, and it's so hard for people to wrap their head around the fact that I'm supposed to go do what I love and it's going to work. Doesn't mean you don't work. It doesn't mean you don't show up and put the energy and the effort and the intention in. But when what you're doing is because it's fun, well, it's going to work. And I'm not going to get esoteric on energy, but I really believe all that stuff. And it's been a testament in my life. So, I mean, the relationships that came from that. I mean, I had coaching clients, I had web clients, I had podcast clients, I had sponsorships. It was just, I mean, one of my first coaching clients, and it was like a 6K coaching thing, literally came to me because she listened to the podcast and found me on Twitter. I was like, well, that was kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you have found it, but when someone's willing to listen to you for like an hour, they're your right tribe, right? It's intimate. If someone's going to listen to me talk for just an hour, it's like, well, love me or hate me, they're not indifferent, so they're sticking around.
Oh, that's such a good point. Okay, you've made like 15,000 amazing points there. Okay, first that I wrote down was like, you use this word fun, which you're absolutely right. Some people I think will say, and I have probably said it too, which is follow the passion. And that's kind of getting poo-pooed a little bit. But I love your angle, which is it was fun. Like I wanted to do it. Our good friend, Matt Medeiros, he's been doing his podcast for a long time.
Yeah.
And we got to have dinner right after our 3 retreat. I flew up to Boston and then got to see him and his family. And,
his kids are so cute. Sorry.
Oh, gosh. Yes, they are.
Yeah. He's awesome too, but his kids are darling.
They are darling. Yes. Now 3 of them. He's got 3 boys. So, but he did it because it was fun. Like it's just part of him, and doing that. And I get that out of you. And that's such a good word for me too. I think it's because when I started my next phase, I go, what interests me? What's interesting to me? And I tried to find some buckets, mental health is one, entrepreneurship. I want to start a business again. In those buckets. But I think that's such a good word. I'll tell you, when I asked that question, I totally thought I'd get something totally different.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I will tell you, blogging was my career success, was my key. And, I've kind of gone back to that. It's been 13 years now, I guess, since I started that blog, which is now defunct and all that. But it was a catalyst for everything that came over the last 10 years for me. But I would say it was fun, but I was learning. Okay, so that's one part. The next one that you said is you came home. Like it was like coming home. Like you found your niche, and you go after 11 years. And I think that resonates too. So many people, we spin and we try things, and things don't move the needle. I mean, today I've got 33 subscribers to my YouTube channel. Kim, be very, very impressed.
Beyond impressed. I have over like 1,500, but YouTube was like, you don't do enough, so we're taking the AdSense away from you. So that tells you that.
Oh, goodness, YouTube.
601.
But, I think it's interesting just staying where, coming home, finding your groove, and being able to stay with it too. So you stayed with it a very, very long time. But I think it comes back to just like you and Matt have this common thing I've heard of, which is we enjoy it. Like I would do it if 2 people show up kind of thing.
Completely. Well, and with all of that, Cory, like, I don't know, I've always had this bent. And I think that people that are entrepreneurs feel that like there's something else I'm supposed to do with my life. And, initially it was because, I'd lost my husband in 2003. I'm like, I need to be here for these kids, but I'd always wanted to. Like I owned a scrapbook store in 1998. I opened that. I tried all the network marketing. I did insurance and real estate. Like I kept trying, right? And what I've seen in this space, and I don't know if you feel this way, but it's like people are waiting for this light bulb moment of inspiration to tell them this is your divine path. And I always get clear through doing the work. And so, like when I originally started blogging, it was like my first post on the WordPress chick was so robotic. But it was through podcasting because I wasn't attached to it. I didn't have expectations. I write the way I talk. And through that, I fell in love with writing. And now I love spending 4 or 5 hours writing a post, editing it, like thinking about the grammar. I mean, I use Grammarly, but it's one of those that you find your voice, you find the clarity through trying. And it's like, you're not going to get better by not doing it. Do you know what I mean? And so I don't know. And I would say very easily it probably wasn't until like 2016. So about 8 years, I really had this like, why aren't I hitting it? Why aren't I, the 6-figure a month earner? Why aren't I doing this? And I joined high ticket masterminds and poured money into ads and all of those things. And I will tell you, the only reason some of them didn't hit, I had some success for sure, but they didn't hit because I wasn't coming from this place of what do I enjoy doing? And it sounds so ambiguous, but I would rather find like, I don't know, do customer support for Zapier on the side while I'm trying to find my voice versus this pushing. And you see people are like, okay, well, this webinar course is going to be the end all be all. This is what I've been looking for. And it's like, no, it's not. Yeah. And so I hit this space of I had to pull away from all this finding a high ticket offer and doing this because other people are having all this success, because it wasn't the game for me. It was the creation sort of. And I just step back and I'm like, I'm going to go back to mastery. And I fell in love with writing, and I wouldn't call myself a writer, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the process of it. And I think I've gotten better. I have fun with copy now. It's not my favorite thing, but it's all of those things. And it's like, if I could say anything to anybody, it's just show up. It's that consistency, and you're going to pivot. I mean, trust me, Cory, like so we had an outsourcing company. I did websites, then we did Done For You podcasting. Then I thought I was going to launch a software program. And it was like, and that didn't work. No, that didn't work.
Yep.
Right. And that's it. That's all you do. You find out another way that doesn't work. I don't know where I'm going with all that.
No, that's such a good thing. Thank you. I wanted to hear all of this because it's very enriching for me, because I think I had forgot over 10 years of iThemes that the struggle that it was before. Now, iThemes was a struggle in itself. It had ups and downs and everything, but before, and I found my journals from like 12 years ago, and I started looking through them, and I go, man, I didn't have anything figured out. I was all over the map. Mm-hmm. I was trying to find my way. And I really did have all kinds of things. And then it ended up, the path narrowed, and it was like, okay, this is my thing. And I think you found that with Content Creators Planner, as you explained, one part of that, I guess I should say, as far as something that you really love to do, and then also helps make money, which is kind of essential, turns out.
Kind of need it to live.
Yeah. But I'm with you on the doing the work. The problem with doing the work and like this whole, adventure called entrepreneurship is when my dad asked me, we have lunch, dinner. I've got a client in Southern Oklahoma, and that's where I'm from. And so when I'm coming back, I have dinner with my dad, and I really love those times. And he goes, how are things going? And I'm like, I made progress. I'm 2 steps ahead of where I was last time, but it looks, to him, and he's super encouraging, loving, and affirming, but to most, I think most, it would go, Cory doesn't know what he's doing. Like, I believe he's going to do well. Like, he did it here, and I think I have confidence. But man, he's wandering in the wilderness kind of thing.
Well, especially that generation would be my guess, right? So, yeah.
Totally. I'm an entrepreneur. He worked for other people for most of his life. And so, he also doesn't, I think he still thinks I'm an IT guy. I do computers.
Can you come fix my printer? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I've done that before. Yeah. So, I'm with you, and I think that's why we're a rare breed as entrepreneurs, is because we get seeming to the outside world, it looks like we're lost. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I feel like I'm totally lost. Most of the time I'm totally lost, but to find that path, and it just doesn't play well when dad asks you how are things going. I can't say, I'm, dad. And one day I will. I don't know how long that's going to be, but for getting there. So anyway, I'm sorry. Doing the work, I fully agree. Putting things out there into the world. Your hashtag is show up. Mm-hmm. And a couple of years ago, I put a talk out at work camps and different places called Just Click Publish, because that's what I did over and over in my life, is back to that blog that eventually snowballed into what was iThemes in my career and life for the last 11 years, was just clicking publish. So I love this. We're kind of segueing into this show up.
Just show up.
Just show up.
Yeah.
And there's this word that you use specifically on your site. You say the key to building a successful online business is to hashtag show up consistently and with strategy and purpose. That word consistently, it's so true.
And here's the thing though, Cory, like my podcast. So when I pivoted from WordPress chick to Kim Doyal, that was, I don't know, first quarter, probably of 2018. And I knew I was going to keep the podcast going. I wasn't going to change the feed. I was just going to change the name of the show. And there's been times where it's been up and down, right? But life happens. And so I swear, I just believe with every ounce of my being, people are doing the best that they can, really. And so it doesn't do me any good to be like, damn it, I didn't publish last week, or, I have a backlog of interviews, or I have this and that. And so, but it's knowing, okay, I'm going to show up when I can with the right intention and just keep moving forward, because there are times like I may look like I'm showing up, but in the meantime, like I'm off for 3 days because I've got life stuff to deal with. And so, the consistency part, it's knowing that no matter what happens today that you do or don't do, you're going to hit it again tomorrow. Right. And so like, even with the Facebook group, Cory, that was another thing that I started because I thought I was launching a SaaS product. So I wasn't worried about it. I didn't have any expectations, but I fell back in love with content. And even backing into that, when I said I started doing these kind of almost daily emails, I had practiced, I had watched Ben Settle, the way he emailed, right? And he can turn some people off. I get that. But I literally just read his emails for probably a year before I became a customer. And then I just was like, I just want to practice this. I don't care if anybody unsubscribes, anybody clicks. This is solely for myself to say, Kim, you're going to show up and do this every day for 20 minutes, whatever. And so from that, then I needed to find ways to tell stories to shift those emails. So that's when I was like, well, man, everything's content. The dog's taking a nap can turn into content, like spilling my coffee can turn into a piece of content. And it was through the practice that I found that, which then became sort of another mantra of mine. And it's so much easier to show up when you're not putting expectations on yourself to turn this into $1 million business, or have a 60,000 person email list, or have some phenomenal launch, when your intention is to just show up and be there 100% when you can. It's a lot easier to move through life.
God, I love that. Okay. This is just the most encouraging. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I love that you said, just keep moving forward, that we all have life. And that's the thing. I think I particularly, and I think there's millions of people out there that do the same, which is beat yourself up when you fail. Beat yourself up when you want to be consistent, but don't show up when life happens. And so that's key. Thank you for that. I love that. And Dory from Finding Nemo, I think her mantra is keep swimming. Keep swimming. But I love yours. Just show up consistently and when you can, and just keep moving forward. But the practice is key too. I wrote that word down. The practice is where you have found some things by one. Okay. So if we're doing steps, it would say first is you started with fun. What's fun? Second, maybe it sounds like no expectations. Like you just wanted to do it.
Right. And I would say, just to clarify, like have an intention, but don't expect it. Because the other piece of this, and I'm going to get a little woo-woo on you, but it's like maybe what happens is bigger than you could have imagined.
Yeah.
It's better, right? So it's sort of like setting that intention to serve and connect and enjoy yourself. And yes, you have to make money. Like with the planner, obviously we want to make money with this, right? But it was one of those ideas that took a hold of me. So I think setting the intention to fully show up for who you are and how you want to move through the world. Like for a while I did another hashtag. I don't know why I think I have to make up hashtags, but it was F the hustle. Because I was like, I like to nap. I just do. I like peace and quiet. I'm like, I don't know. I did the 60, 70 hours on my feet, working, commuting, all that nonsense. I'm like, that's not what I want to do. It doesn't mean I don't work hard, So I sort of do these pendulum swings, like, go away. And then I'm like, everything's great. I'm like, okay, let's find out where we need to live.
Preach it. Okay. So talk to me about intention. So, okay, we're not basing our value in life on the expectations we have, but we are setting an intention. What does that look like? Or what did it look like with Content Creators Planner or the Facebook group or the podcast or anything like that for you?
I sort of believe in this in this space, we do a lot of back into it, reverse engineer, right? And so for me, it was, what do I want my life to look like? And a lot of my adult career before starting this was all retail management. And I was so adamant that freedom was a driving force for me. Like, I am never showing up to a building with a pair of keys again for anybody else. And so freedom was this driving thing, right? But yet, as you start doing it, and anybody who's been an entrepreneur realizes for a while you create a job for yourself and you're like, I don't have any of the perks of the actual job ahead. And I'm making less money and all this stuff. So I kind of backed into it and I was like, what do I want my life to look like? And it's interesting when you talk about mental health. So I found an amazing therapist when I lost my husband in 2003. I don't know if I said this talk. My friends call me, what about Bob? Right? Bill Murray, who followed his shrink on vacation because
Baby
she sort of,
Bob.
yeah. She retired and like moved up to Reading, and I go see her like for 3 hours at a time. But, I made a really conscious decision. I would say it was in 2011 that I wanted to move through my life differently. I'm pretty type A and I'm outgoing, but I just didn't want to be as reactive. And I found myself identifying as a widow. And I was like, this is just a part of your story, Kim. Doesn't mean it's easy, whatever, but it's like, it's a part of your story. It doesn't define you. And so it is such the core of my life, Cory. Like, who do I want to be today? Like, did you meditate? Or, you know what? I'm just going to hang out with the dogs for 4 hours because it just brings me joy. Or what friends fill me up? And so intention, it's like, you got to get in touch with it. And it's like, you have to do this work. And it's like, where is my life working? Where is it not? Like, we were talking about expectations and judgment. It's like, I used to just beat myself up and why am I here again? And what am I doing? And then I had this sort of epiphany one day that I caught myself having that conversation. I was like, friggin' knock it off. But I used a much more vulgar word. And so and I remember, and I was all proud of myself because I caught myself from doing this like dramatic, to myself. And I remember telling my therapist, she's all like, okay, well, that's good. But what if you said, oh, it's okay, sweetie, you're tired, and I was like, oh, that feels really nice.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just, and I can do that now. I'm like, Kim, it's okay. You're super tired, or you're going through this, or you just want to go binge Netflix. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because then it's so much easier to get back on the saddle tomorrow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's kind of letting yourself off the hook in a sense of, not dwelling. Okay, I'm a failure because I forgot. I didn't publish that blog post.
Right.
I'm a failure because I didn't, be like the max productive I could today, which I would say most of the things you're talking about, there's this sense of, as entrepreneurs, we don't think the recharge is really hard for us.
Yeah.
We have a problem with saying, like, we understand our iPhone gets to red and we need to plug it in, or there's battery conservation mode. And we don't realize that applies to us too. Like, there are 1%, we're not good to anybody. But I like your set the intention, and you're finding, it seems like, if I could capture it, you're staying in the middle of what is contentment and happiness and fulfillment for you, and letting that drive everything. So
yeah. Have you ever done that, the 5 love languages?
Totally.
Right. Okay. So they have one for singles and stuff too. And it was funny because I had a disagreement with a family member last week or whatever. And so I was like, I got to go do this again. And we're so polar opposites. Right. And the other thing is, like, life happens. You're going to have disagreements with people you love and care about. You move on. It's like not making everything a thing. That's kind of another goal of mine. But when you realize, oh, wow, quality time is really important to me. And so you look at that, and then it's like, well, that has to happen in business too. Right. So I love creating. I like just getting lost in that. Like, I don't want to be on 24/7. It exhausts me, even though I may not seem like that. Yeah. It will deplete me. And so and again, I think part of it is getting older. You learn, like, when I get super pumped about something, or I've got a project and the momentum kicks in, I can go hard and then I will crash and then I will check out for a few days. And it's like it's a process. That was the other thing that has been so helpful for me, is that's simply my process. So when people stay in that space of, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, it's almost giving themselves permission to not try again tomorrow. Yeah. It's a bit of an excuse instead of, I didn't do it. It's that self-responsibility. Like, if you could teach your kids anything, it's teach them, not anything, but look, if you made a mistake, That's how you learn. Own it, accept responsibility. There's consequences. Now tomorrow's a new day. You're not a horrible person. And so it's like all these little fundamentals of being a good human being really apply to business.
Oh gosh, yes. Okay, so much there too. But I want to go back to the 5 love languages.
Yeah.
So I use that in business. People always go, well, how do you do physical touch? And I go, well, at iThemes, we had an SOP about a high five.
Mm-hmm.
And for physical touch people, that high five, pat on the back, can be killer. But you just eliminated something. So I've used that, and Lindsay and I talk about it all the time, because she is physical touch and I am words of affirmation. Mm-hmm. And it's something every week of my marriage with her, I have thought about it. She's physical touch. I know I got to be deliberate and go hold her hand. Okay, so that's the sidebar. But you just turned something. I never thought to think about the 5 love languages. So if your love language is quality time, reminds words of affirmation, is the business giving that to you? I never thought about it like that. Because I talk to entrepreneurs who are absolutely miserable,
Yeah.
And it's because maybe the business is not loving them in the way they need to be loved. Well, one is gifts are always nice. We always like gifts. It might not be our primary thing, but is it giving us money is one thing. But, if all you hear as a words of affirmation person, all you hear is complaints, it's not your love language, right?
Right. And all of a sudden it's like, what did I do to myself with this business?
Yeah. But I never thought about that like that. You said quality time. So like, is it giving you quality time to do the things you really cherish that give you some fulfillment, like getting lost in content and talking to good people and relationships? That's a light bulb moment. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Well, and also you want to look at it in the sense of, is it allowing me to be who I want to be? I hit this stride as I calmed down a little bit from like, I was kind of a jerk as a manager, not horrible, but like if you did your job, you loved me. If you didn't want to work for me. I was, cracking the whip kind of thing. And it's just, I don't know. There is something about choosing kindness. You can be right or you can be kind. And again, that doesn't mean there's no consequences, but it's also being kind to yourself. And who I want to be means I like to show up for people in my life, right? That, like I went down and spent a few days with, one of my mom's best friends, and my mom passed away this summer. It's been super hard. So keeping those connections are vitally important to me. She's a family friend. She does a volunteer thing. I need to be that person that can show up because quality time is important to me too, right? So I helped her with this charity thing. And so my business has to allow me to be that person. Right? So my business has to allow me then to be, and all that changes, right? So like I'm officially an empty nester. I'm staying with my dad for a while with this loss. But now I'm like, what does this look like? So I don't know, like I was so excited this week, Cory, because my dad's on a trip and I'm like, I have nowhere to go. I just get to work and it's quiet. Like you can't see a house for miles from where I'm at. So it's those little things. Does my business support who I want to be in this lifetime?
Oh, that's good. I can totally see as you're talking about, did the business iThemes allow me to be more of me and how I want to be loved or appreciated, whatever in the world? And it absolutely did. I conformed it to what I wanted it to be. There was a time though, I thought, I don't want to be a part of this. This is a broken relationship. And I remedied that.
But that's how you learn, right?
Totally. And yeah, when you talk about failure and learning, particularly with kids, and I've got 2 young kids, is the growth mindset. How do you instill this? Failure is learning. Failure is feedback. Failure is how we get better in the world, use things. And it's tough. We're trying to teach the kids baseball and they'll, not hit the ball and be like totally defeated. I'm like, oh man, if I could just take this chip, and I don't have it, by the way, I'm still trying to learn it even better, chip and go, hey, just keep moving forward. Everything that you said earlier, just keep moving forward. This is how we kind of learn and grow. And that is by the way, that growth mindset thing, there's this thing called the Big Life Journal. And I love these people. I'm thinking, I want to email them and say, you need to have an adult version, even if I have to print it out. And the adult version, because it's so good with this growth mindset, failure, and all these themes that we're talking about. Okay. Totally not where I thought our conversation would go, but I love it. I'm like,
me too. I'm having a blast.
So, okay. You talked at R3 And then you're backing into some things that's really made me want to ask this. Okay. So I love this. You've got these principles, that is, how do you align business with who you are authentically and who you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of brings up this whole self-care and support. So, how do you, as an entrepreneur, as a person in the world, take care of yourself? And you mentioned therapist that you told me you drive 3 hours for.
Yeah, she's awesome. And then we sit for 3 hours. So it's a long day.
That's great though.
Yeah. It's really tuning in and learning, like, as an example, the last few years, I mean, even pre-losing my mom, high school was a really difficult time for my son. It was really hard. And which was tough because my daughter was like, she came out of the womb like, I've got it. She just, right. And so then and on one hand, I'm like, I'm grateful she was first, because I would have been like, how did I fail this kid? Right. We're on the other side of it. It's a lot easier to have this conversation. But what self-care looked like during that time was just getting through each day. Honestly, I'm a huge, I probably am high up there with physical touch, like Lindsay. I love massages. I meditate. I've probably done it most consistently in the last year that I ever have. I am, like, when I say I listen to stuff in my head, it's not always business. I've got spiritual stuff that I listen to, or oftentimes when I work, I have noisely on. It's just rain and wind. And I have found that I recharge with nature. I mean, it's sort of weird, like, to come up and live with my dad again, but at the same time, they've got an acre and it looks like Lake Tahoe. I'm like, this is so soul filling. Yeah. And so self-care is really being conscious of, spending time with people that fill me up. That's it. And also, I think as adults, hopefully, if you can learn this, it's such a win, is when you need help, you ask for it. That plain and simple. You know how good it feels to show up for other people and to be there. And so allow the people that love you to do that as well. It's going to look different based on what you're going through. Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's going to be a hard first year without my mom. Sorry. I mean, I'm in their house, but at the same time, like, it fills me up to be able to help my dad. It's weird. So it's like, what does that look like? I'm going to Idaho by myself. I'm taking the dogs. I rented an Airbnb for 2 weeks. I'm like, I just need, and I scheduled a massage for each week on there. Right. But I need that. I know myself well enough that if I can get a little space to ground myself, and I have such strong spiritual beliefs, and I'm like, I feel like I'm being called to sort of, I'm getting so weird on you, Cory, but being called to a new spiritual level in my life. Yeah. And so because of this loss being so significant, and so it's like, what does that look like? I don't know. I'm going to work. I'm going to take the dogs for a walk, all that stuff. But I know myself well enough to say I'm better to the people I love when I have that quiet time for me. So, and it could look differently, right? There's other times it's like, I totally want to see my girlfriends, or I need a girls' weekend away, or I want to go, to Disneyland, which is not a vacation. It's, God. Right. Like restful. Like everyone's like, why Idaho? Because I was going to move there in October. That was my plan before all this happened. And I'm like, I just wanted somewhere that felt like fall. Northern California doesn't always, and had some nature. I wanted to move there. So let's go look at the area, and just a retreat. That was it. Yeah. So it's trusting that you can listen to yourself. And I really believe, do you read Ryan Holiday? Have you read his stuff?
Oh yeah. Love his stuff.
I love him. Obstacles Away is one of my most favorite books.
Top 100 ever.
Yes, absolutely. And he has a book called Stillness coming out. Yeah. And I just think we live in this world of, constant, that need for stillness is so important. And I've just tapped into that. And for everybody, it's going to look different, you know? And don't get me wrong. I am so like the binge watch TV girl. I have no judgments about watching 6 hours of a great show if that's what I need today, because I need to shut my brain off. I don't care.
I think you're absolutely right. Is knowing yourself and what you need. And sometimes for me, I call, we kind of joke that I'm Captain Oblivious sometimes. But
Amen.
Is having somebody around you that can say, no, you really do need this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's so good. And then the obstacle is the way, run holidays work. So key. That was the article I've been thinking about. He sent an email. I think it was over the weekend. It was 25 things, something like that. 25 things to be still.
Mm-hmm.
And that is absolutely key. I had something else, but now I forgot it. But I love it, Kim.
Well, and really quick on the stillness piece, I think because we live in we have so much information and with technology and stuff, it's not like the industrial age where it was a 40, 50-year growth. It's like technology happens this fast. And so it's allowing yourself permission to see what that looks like for you. And I think part of that piece, and I swear, I think this was a Dr. Oz quote, but we have to learn to be comfortable with discomfort, right?
Mm.
And so it's kind of like when life happens and things are hard, it's like, can you allow yourself just to be sad? Not with what am I supposed to do with this? How am I supposed to feel? Or when you're angry, like, can you just allow yourself to be angry without placing blame or judgment or whatever? And I think as a culture, I'm not, a statistician, but I think we've lost a little bit of that because we have so much coming at us. So it's whatever stillness looks like for you. It's finding those little moments that will help.
Well, you made the mention that like when you were going through some hard times with your son in high school and all that like self-care was getting through the day, getting to tomorrow. And that I think that's that perspective to have, which is like, I remember we had our kids and they were both in diapers at the same time. One was sleeping through the night, one wasn't. And then I'd read these articles and it'd be like, hey, get 7 hours of sleep. And I want to say, screw you. Like,
when? There's not a 40-hour day.
Oh my God. Every article I read was like, get 7 hours of sleep. So it's absolutely fine. I'm like, okay, cool. What do I do now? Like, do I just go, hey, Lindsay, I took an Ambien, 5 Ambien, and like, I'm good. You're going to have to, like, you can't do that stuff, and so I love that. It's like, when you said, it's like getting through the day, but that other times, here are some of the keys when we talk about taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it is situational too, where you can't like, hey, 7 hours of sleep and exercising every day isn't going to happen in this season of life. At some point,
and the morning routine too. I'm just going to go ahead and shout that.
Yeah.
This pressure of you have to get up at this time of day and have accomplished 500 things by 7 o'clock. I'm not saying that's not life-changing and can't make an impact and whatever it is. But again, you get to choose what that looks like for you instead of what it's supposed to look like.
Yes. That pressure that you're talking about from external pressure coming in to say, hey, I have to do all these things. Now, I don't know if my problem is the external, because I'm good at saying like, screw you, you're going to write about sleep. Awesome. I'm glad you get 7.5 hours of sleep every night. Still my sleep's disrupted and my kids are 6 and 4. But I think, shoot, I forgot where I was going.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one that does that. I have done that so many times in a podcast. I'm all, where am I going with this?
This is where I was.
Go ahead.
Good. Thank you. Okay. Good. Because that happens way too often for me. And there it went again. No. Okay, I got it. Self-talk. I got to say self-talk before I forget it. So the external pressure of those type of things, and I read all those articles and I'm like, screw you, and I still do feel that pressure. But I think the worst critic in my life ever is myself, is the things that I say to myself. And I've been trying to change that. This year has been this renaissance for me. It's kind of like a reset for me, is change this internal thing, which it goes, back to kind of this theme of like, I didn't publish a post. Okay, well, you suck. And it's crazy because I've shared this publicly too, is that I know if I were to talk to my friends the way I talk to myself, I would not have any friends at all.
Completely.
But it's crazy, I
know what?
be the best encourager and supporter of others, yet myself.
Right.
It kind of sucks.
There was I'm sorry, you got me excited here, but Martha Beck gave a really good example of that exact scenario, but it was more of like a visual. I'm such a visual person. Yeah. And it was, you see it, your friends going through something and they're laying in bed and you go to comfort them and you touch them on the shoulder and they turn over and it's you. It's not your friend. And it's like, so when you can, and all of this, like, why do you think Brene Brown blew up? Because we all are so tired of putting on a brave face when you need to break down or cry or talk or whatever it is. And so like we're craving, and she always says, you know, we're hardwired for connection. And so,
Yeah.
but you have to learn who are your go-to people, like who can you go to for that and stuff. And it's baby stepping your way through it. I believe that in business, like I baby stepped my way into just showing up, and there's plenty of places that I could, like, I constantly like, God, I should, you know, everything is content. I haven't done an Instagram story, or I haven't done this, or I haven't done that. At the same time, I'm like, my mom just passed away. It's not even been 3 months. I'm like, I don't care if anybody likes it or not. I'm going to post the weather today and the dogs next week, and that's all you're getting.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's, I don't know, that self-talk, it's simply a conscious practice. And, you know, we were talking about, there's a lot of strategies and expectations in this space. There's never an end point in essence. There's always more you can do. There's always something else you can create. There's always something else you can promote. And so it's really kind of, it comes back to backing into, what do you want your life to look like? Mm-hmm. And I don't want the pressure. At the same time, I want a killer income so I can live the life I want to live, which to me is the freedom and the travel and experiences and stuff, which is why you start looking at, okay, what will take me there? And you are going to get clear, like the planner, completely, like, I swear to you, no idea of that whole, how that even came about was crazy. But yet it's like, oh my God, Cory, we have an ad running for that. It's totally profitable. We started taking a draw on it. We have both been so busy. The Content Creators Planner, I haven't published a post, and I've got one I'm going to publish, but too long. But it's like, we're doing the best we can.
Yeah.
And it's fine. And we have big plans for it, and it's going to happen. And my daughter and I use the saying, I'm a just trust, you know?
Yeah. Keep moving forward, doing the best you can. Okay. So on the planner, so fun and serendipitous, but how'd that all come about? And
it totally came about because I was having fun. So like when I said that I had a scrapbook store, right? I actually had some font stickers published that I designed. Like I was an art major for a while too. Like I'm sort of the jack of all trades, but like as a kid, I would spend hours in my room drawing. I did all that stuff in high school, and it was like, I almost went to art school, but I didn't have the confidence. I didn't want to compete in something I loved. That was what I told myself. And so I want to say it was just last spring. Have you heard of the bullet journal?
Yep.
Okay. So my aunt's telling me about this bullet journal, and I was like, oh, this sounds cool, because I've tried so many systems and stuff, and it's like, yeah, but I'm a pen and paper person. And so I get this bullet journal, and I was like, okay, this is way too structured for me. I can't index my year. That's not how my brain works. But in the meantime, I fell in love with the paper. I like the dot grid, and I started using colored pens again, and I felt like this kid. And so like one day I would draw out a funnel. The next day I'd be like, what do I want my life to look like? And the next day I'd be like, what are my money goals? Like I just did whatever the heck I wanted to do. And I was simply having fun with it. But as I stepped into this bullet journal world, it's like a massive subculture. Like there are people that have million YouTube subscribers because they do their monthly spreads, right? And I was just thinking, holy moly, there's something here. And in content creators, what I would do, like I have tons of pen and paper and all that stuff. So there were different times that I have funalytics, but I will draw out. It just works for my brain. So I would draw out stuff, and then I would take a picture. That's my everything is content. You know, as I would take a picture, and people are like, oh my God, I love that. And I was like, this is fascinating. So I just did a test because I started following all these hand lettering people, and I really was having fun for myself, just playing and drawing. And so I took 3 pictures of a journal spread, and I shared them on Instagram stories. And one, I used the hashtag journaling. And the first one I didn't, and it was like, I don't know, 50, 60 views. The hashtag journaling got like 543 views. And the next one didn't. I'm all, there's something here. Like, this is really fun. And it was just kind of one of those things that and that was in early spring of 2018. And it just was percolating. And then summer, this guy reached out to me, and he was an artist or a designer, but he had a web agency. We kind of started talking. I'm like, hey, would you want to do this with me? And he's like, yeah. Well, 3 weeks in, God bless him, he's talented, he's a great person, but it like nothing was coming to fruition. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just take this back. You know, and he's like, everything right? I'm like, yeah, I just think timing, because I had learned that even with the SaaS, right? Like the guy that I was doing that with had some really tough life circumstances. I've got nothing but love for him. We're still friends, but I just was like, I'm not going through this, taking a year and a half to hope something comes to fruition. So I was like, what am I going to do? Because I don't know Adobe InDesign. And I was like, duh. I reached out to my now business partner, Jody Hirsch, who is a graphic designer, 25 years, successful. She was on a cruise in Europe, and I'm all, so do you know InDesign? She's like, yeah, what do you need? I'm like, well, do you want to do this with me or can I hire you? She's like, yes. I'm like, well, what is it? And that was August of last year. And so then I started hand drawing the pages. We would do 6-hour Zoom calls. Kim decides it's a great idea to launch a Kickstarter at the beginning of December. Not. So like we just went so fast, and I had all these ideas about what it was supposed to look like. But again, I was not attached to what it had to be, right? I mean, because I'd seen other planners and journals and stuff raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so I would say it was probably the week before Christmas where we were like, okay, I don't think we're going to hit our funding goal, because we were going to outsource it overseas. And we thought we had to order like 10,000. Like, we just didn't know. So we said, all right, well, we still believe in this. We're still committed to it. Let's pivot. We threw up WooCommerce. We let everybody know they could pre-buy through the site. New Year's Eve, we did like $1,500 in sales for something that didn't exist. Then we end up finding a printer in Atlanta near Jody. And it was like, oh my God. And it's better than we could have had we been stuck on it had to go overseas and be this type of a format and stuff. And we just let it take its course. We just kept going, that didn't work. All right, let's try this. And people were excited about it. Every time I do a live stream or I would talk about it, people get excited about it because I get excited about it. Mm-hmm. And it's blown me away, Cory, because it's like, what's this going to look like when we put real effort into it? And I'm not saying we don't care, but we've had tough years. And so it's just, that, and I don't know who this is. I don't know why I'm quoting everybody today, but nothing is as powerful as an idea whose time has come.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think, again, in this busy world, we're looking for that sort of tangible, let me get off the computer for a minute, have a moment with my thoughts, and there's data that says we remember better when we write and stuff. And it was simply, because with content, there are so many ways to approach it. And I truly believe strategy is important. It should support your business goals. But if you're not sure what that looks like, just friggin' hit publish, to your point, like click publish, right? It's like, you're going to get clear through doing it. So by giving people permission, do you know how many of my emails I publish this blog post, and there is zero SEO value in that, but it's my voice and I'm connecting with people, right? So it's giving yourself permission to, I don't know, figure it out. That's why we wanted to have this. And so you can have a strategy, but at the same time, if you feel like getting something off your chest, do it. Like, really quick story. I'm a Game of Thrones fan. And for whatever reason, as that was ending, people would proclaim, I'm proud to say I've never watched an episode of Game of Thrones. It was all over social media. I'm like, so I did this email. I'm all, nobody cares what you don't do, right? It was just this like self-righteous, I don't waste time with the public's obsession with GOT. And it was like, what's your point, right? Be for something. Like, it was just the strangest thing to me. And I'm not kidding you, Cory. I published it as a post. Too many GOT fans shared that everywhere. They were like, thank you, because you felt this like, well, I'm sorry, I like it. And it's like, it's just human psychology, right? The people who don't, or they left out because they're sick of seeing it. I don't know. Like, I'm sick of seeing politics, so I just hide people. I'm like, I don't want to see it. But it's one of those things that it's okay to publish something that you feel like saying. And I don't ever do it from a hateful, political, whatever. I just kind of felt like ranting, and it worked. So that was a total non sequitur for the planner, but it's been fun.
It's totally, it's captivating. You talked about Brene Brown, but on your site and in everything you're sharing here is back to authenticity, who you are, who you want to be in the world, and being true to that as best as possible. And so I'm hearing some things. Okay, fun, approach it with fun. There is intention, which I want to kind of get back to that though. Fun, being you. And then I keep thinking about it, in Oklahoma here, we do a lot of fishing and hunting. I think about fishing. I grew up fishing with my dad and brothers, and you put a lure in, and you wait, but you keep testing
patience, young Jedi.
yeah, I did not have it, by the way. But putting enough. So I'm seeing that, like, you started in, and that parallels my story, by the way. So you started in with fun. Like, I like doing this, and somewhere in back there, back to your strategy and purpose. There's, you're looking for opportunity recognition, but so fun. And then you're letting things, you say the word percolate, which I love, because I tell people it's baking. Like, this
Yeah.
cake I'm baking is going to take a long time, or
Mhm.
something. I do use cooking references, but it's a slow to a boil. It'll
Mhm.
boil. It's just slow to get there.
Right.
And I'm so, okay, fun. Let's see if there's another one, but you're coming along these things and you're noticing also what hits. You talk about Instagram. There's something here, and that's definitely my MO too. Putting stuff out in the world and seeing what
Mhm.
reverbs back, what resonates, what ripples back to you, which is so interesting. And following that, what you've done.
And that's, like when coming back to content, people think I've got to do all this. It's got to be super technical and have this hardwired strategy. But with the planner, the first spread that Jody did in InDesign, when I shared it in the Facebook group, we got so much validation. I was like, all right, I don't know what this is going to look like, but man, we're on the right path. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's doing that. And the whole thing is, you're not going to be ready. You have to do it. It's to use the analogy of parenting. I don't know anybody that's like, I am absolutely ready to have a child and bring it and be responsible for them for the next 18 years and be a parent. Nobody's ever ready,
If they
but we
do,
do
they're
it anyways.
stupid.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
We'll be
If they,
humbled.
yeah, yeah. Unless it's the first one and they're just, yeah. But that's just it. And so I don't know. I think we overthink so much, and
You're
it's
reading my mind here. You're reading my email, because I wanted to confess to you that I overthink too much.
Mhm.
Blogging. Back a long time ago, I was blogging up to 3 times a day.
Oh my gosh.
I was nuts, and I
Mhm.
could crank stuff out. And then over time it shifted, where I went from doing some of that work to managing and leading that work.
Mhm.
And man, I tell you what, I think I've overthought it so much and complicated it, where I'm coming back in and I'm thinking, oh man, I got to rust off, get off some of the rust. I want to get back into blogging because I know it's critical to success. And I'm overthinking it, I think. I'm
Come.
getting too much in the weeds of
Mhm.
going, it has to be, there's probably a perfectionist mindset, which I've railed against for years, particularly on my teams.
Well, what would be my guess, Cory, is that because it's hard when you've done X and it's worked, and you almost not have too much knowledge, but you have so much experience and skill and knowledge that it's giving yourself permission to let it look like whatever you feel like letting it look like when it hits you, and again, that doesn't mean you don't go back. Like, it was funny because I switched podcast hosts, and so I'm going back and I'm changing all these players and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, like when I imported some of the content, like none of the SEO, or I'm like, girl, you've got work to do. And I'm like, that's okay. That's all right. It's okay. Like, it's just giving yourself permission to fix and edit and tweak and course correct. I mean, it's that same analogy of a pilot, right? They take off and they're course correcting the whole time they're flying. And so I don't know. It's so strange to me. It's like, you look at, why is it we let children evolve and grow and make mistakes, and then it's like, well, as soon as you're an adult, you're not allowed. You're just supposed to have it figured out. It's crazy. Nobody does.
Magically.
And right. And it's like, and that resonates with people. The more I share, so like I did a whole podcast episode that was when a failed Kickstarter leads to a successful product.
Yeah.
Right. And remember, successful did not mean we made $100,000 off some launch. We're like, woohoo, people are pre-buying it. We're going to keep going with this. And now it's like, $50 a day on an ad that's working is completely profitable. It's like, what's that going to look like when we actually implement retargeting? And, but it's like, it's okay. It's coming.
Yeah. But you've gone farther than most people because you followed this serendipitous route.
Mm-hmm.
Gone farther. Now you have the ability to go, I can crank this up even more, but I'm there, which is so, most of us want that, getting to that serendipitous path that is like, it works. People,
Mm-hmm.
it's validated. People like it. Now, if we just turn the spigot up, it'll work. And, I think there's a lesson here that, I talk to a lot of would-be or want to be entrepreneurs. And it's the same mindset sometimes I fight myself, which is putting profit before passion, interest, real care about what you're doing. And every time I have done that, put profit before purpose, I've lost either a lot of money, a lot of time. It's failed miserably.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to the key thing. So you remember Mike, Michalowicz, who was at R3. He told me, he
Awesome
said,
speaker.
oh, so good. His books are incredible too. so I was talking to him and I said, hey, and I told him, I sold my company and he had sold his, of course, that's part of his story. And I said, what would you share with me? Is like, you've been here, you're ahead of me in this and rebooting and starting again. And he said, find your purpose. And it's back to what you're saying here, which is the theme of your core, your authenticity of who you are and want to be in the world. And he goes on a bracelet, he goes, mine is to end entrepreneurial poverty.
Wow.
I was like, damn, how do I buy mine? Can I buy mine today? Like, can I just get what's my thing? Can I just buy a bracelet and it'll just say, oh, got it. But there's not a lot of.
That's a whole podcaster post. Like, can I buy my bracelet?
Yeah. But I think your message needs to be shared more, which is starting with what's fun, learning a skill, learning something that you were doing journaling and finding your way through that and having a business strategy purpose in there that's parallel. It's still, it's present. Maybe it's not, the first thing, but it's that business opportunity recognition, eye looking and going, there might be something here. That's such a good thing.
Well, thank you. And I think, you're saying like the bracelet thing, it's funny because I think our why will shift. Initially, my drive and why was to be there for my kids and freedom. Right. And then it hit me at some point, because I'm the only entrepreneur in my family. Everyone's like, my dad's a retired police officer and it's been very traditional, and it hit me so full on when I was at an event one time that I'm like, I think part of my greater purpose is to shift the trajectory for like the kids in my family. Like my daughter works for me. She's going to be finishing college. She's like, I want to go to London for my senior year. And I don't know that I want to jump into a job. I think I want to freelance and travel. And it's like, because of an example that I've set. Right. And so it's showing another way. And whether it's the kids in my family or somebody that I've touched, it's that there is another way. Right. And I think like my kids' generation, they're 22 and 18, are definitely seeing that, but for our generation, it's still not the norm or whatever. And so it's like, I felt sort of a bigger purpose. And I don't know, as I've gotten older, kindness is such a core of how I want to move through the world. And Cory, I'm not saying I don't piss people off or make mistakes or disappoint or let people down. Lord knows that. But if I can come back to what is the kind thing to do here, or how can I do something that just makes it was so funny. We went to Scotland on like 2013. I took my kids, and because I worked retail so long, every clerk, I'd be like, thanks, have a great day. And they would kind of look at me and I'm like, how you doing? And it's like, it was not the norm to get chit chatty with customers, but the point is, it's like, where can you leave that element? And so with my business, if I can give people permission it's okay. Like to write about what you write, you're going to get better. It's okay. Like, just be nice, like have fun. It's okay. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, golly, we could go on and on, but I know you have things to do. And I want to do a part 2 and part 3 and part 4, some just between us, because I love our conversation today.
Me too.
Energy and fulfillment. And I've learned so much today that's been good for my story. But okay, Kim, tell us where we can find you. And then would you share also, I know it's kimdoyal.com. But
that's DOYAL.
DOYAL, and I'll put it in the show notes. But also talk to us about content creators planner.
Yeah, it's just contentcreatorsplanner.com. It is a 90-day planner. There is a physical planner. I should have had one handy, but it's too far. Or a digital. And we're working on some like content type templates to support sort of content creation. So we'll see where that goes. But and it's we specifically did it undated, and I'm sure we could have done a big, get your 2020. And it's like, nah, hop in wherever you're at. We've got some training on it, and ask me questions. I think I'm going to start, I have to justify my new iPad purchase that I made with a pencil so I can start teaching with the PDF online. But yeah, any questions? It's like, it's great for us to get feedback. Like somebody said, we need page numbers, which we didn't think we did because it's kind of redundant, but people want page numbers. Okay. So we put page numbers in, and so we love the feedback, and we just want to make it a super helpful tool to get people publishing and to get them publishing content that supports their business. We call it purpose-driven content.
Love it. Now, okay, you can go to Kim Doyal, DOYAL.com, and you can find one link over to the planner, and also Kim's Facebook group, which we didn't get to talk about, but you are such a great online community leader, specifically in that. I know in many other areas, but I love your engagement and how you lead people. And so go and they can request to join straight from your site, that group.
Great. This has been so much fun, Cory. I feel like I could talk to you like all day.
Ditto. Thank you so much, Kim. I appreciate your time.
Thanks.